What's up, guys? Yandere Neko here. And as you probably know by now, the next death battle is Miles Morales versus Deku. So I thought I'd do a short prediction for it. Now, before we get into this, I'm a Deku hater. I'm a My Hero Academia hater. I'm the chief Deku hater. So I'm going into this as biased against Deku as I possibly can. That being said, who do I think wins this? 1 second, am I recording? Okay, good. Who do I think wins this? I'd have to go with, it depends. It really depends on where you calc Marvel, DC, street tiers, or I guess quote-unquote street tiers. Because whenever you call a street tier, everybody wants to pop off on all their high-end feats. And okay, so in terms of who can make the bigger boom, just some pretty visual you can slap a big number behind. Deku takes this pretty handily. Look at any number of cloud-splitting feats in My Hero Academia. Hirokoshi really likes his cloud-splitting attacks. Whereas for Miles, I think there's one panel of his Venom Blast encompassing several floors of a building. So yeah, Deku takes this. I'll go as far as to call this a Deku feed. You are handing the little shit a win like he got handed his powers. Like, why even bring this loser back at that point, you know? But in terms of chain scaling, different story. Miles should scale 2 or above Peter. That means any time in those Stan Lee, Steve Ditko comics where he beat up on the Avengers, or the Fantastic Four, or the X-Men, teams that would clear My Hero Academia, let alone Deku, Miles should get that scaling. But if we do go for that, people will claim it's inconsistent, or not the level he usually performs at, yada yada. I guess what I'm getting at is, it's a real lose-lose for Deku, because if he wins, congratulations, it was a feed. Like, do you want a sticker for that? But if he loses, it's like, great, you lost to a street tier, whatever that means, you know? Okay, but, actually breaking down the more debate side of this, for strength, to steal a joke from a video I saw, there's tiers to strength. You got beat up a guy strong, and you got punching asteroids strong, you know? Miles, there's that iconic Spider-Man feat of lifting what Peter compared to a locomotive. And Deku is changing the weather with his punches. That being said, with the Venom Blast, Miles has been able to injure Null, the god of the symbiotes. And we all know how busted symbiotes can be. So strength, I'd give it to Deku, but with the asterisk that Miles can technically injure far tougher characters. Because that's really what this debate comes down to. Who wins on paper versus, like, the strongest guy they've beaten up. Because if we look at the toughest guy they've won against, it goes Miles. If we just go for, like, on-paper stats, Deku. For speed, it's honestly about even. Like, for Miles, he's a Spider-Man. All Spider-Man have dodged lasers, which can get anywhere to FTL to massively faster than light, depending on how you calc, like, distance and trajectory and stuff. For Miles, Death Battle puts him at, like, they slightly FTL, based on Shigaraki intercepting lasers when he fought Stars and Stripes. But I have seen some people claim that, well, if you believe the naval laser is light speed, and therefore even like low tier characters have light speed scaling, you can get Deku to like 260 times faster than light. I don't really buy it, but either way, whether you believe both are only FTL or MFTL, speed's about even. Like, maybe cuts towards Miles, maybe cuts towards Deku. It's not a deciding factor either way. Powers. While most people would say this goes Deku off rip, I feel like it's only a slight advantage in all honesty. Starting with Miles, he has all your classic Spider-Man powers: strength, agility, webs, wall crawling, spider sense. But he also can turn invisible to the point it tricks Peter's spider sense, which means debatably he has an edge up on danger sense. And he has lightning powers, ranging from punches, big AoE blasts, and in later outings he even has, like, lightning constructs, like webs, swords, lightning constructs, you name it. He also has a vibranium suit, although it's technically vibranium weave. Think Black Panther's thing, where it's vibranium, but if you hit it enough, it'll still break apart. So, depending on how strong you think that is, it's debatably a non-factor. For Deku's powers, and again, I feel like a lot of people really overstate his advantages. Like, Smokescreen gets countered by Spider Sense. Danger Sense is debatably countered by invisibility. At worst, it's a stalemate. Hover, or float, nobody ever debates float. Like, no one thinks it's a game changer. In fact, gun to my head, I'd argue most people forget Deku has that one. There's Fajin. It's a neat trick. He can store up kinetic energy and let it out in a burst of speed, but, like, with how close speed is anyway, I don't think it's going to be a deciding factor. Black Whip, while most people compare it to webs, I'd argue it's slightly better. Because in one feat I will legit give Deku credit for, was like Carnage Deku, I believe it's called, where after pushing his body to exhaustion, he sort of wove in the black whips through his muscles to puppet himself. Which is also why some people argue paralysis from the Venom Blast won't work. But, so yeah, there's that. Which, side tangent, one of the reasons I never got into My Hero Academia was, like, the first 2/3 was very, like, Disney Channel, Mickey Mouse writing, only rivaled by maybe Fairy Tail, but even then they have fan service that's definitely not Disney Channel, so it's like, right, for the first 2/3 it's very Mickey Mouse writing. Then in the last third he's doing hardcore stuff like Carnage Deku. It's like, where was this from the beginning? Would have actually liked the character, you know? And then there's Gear Shift, where he basically can ignore inertia, stopping something on a dime, going 1 to 0 without acceleration, that kind of stuff. Or no, 0 to 100 without acceleration, that's what I meant. But he can only do it for 5 minutes before he runs out of oxygen, so it's definitely important, but not, especially with how close the stats are. So there's that. So it's one of those, And lastly, I guess intelligence. Slide Edge, Deku, like Spider-Man are all pretty smart as is. Since Miles is by no means an idiot, but Deku's debatably the better tactician. Like, either way, it's honestly, stat-wise, relatively close, except in AP where it is laughably one-sided. So it's like, it leans Deku because of that, but I do legitimately get the arguments for Miles. I still think it's a Deku feed. I'm not happy about it. But, you know, it is what it is. So I'm gonna say Deku, but it is honestly only because of AP. Everything else are actually rather close. Well, if you found this commentary insightful, please like, share, subscribe, and check out some of the videos in the end screen. I'll catch y'all next time.